Croeso and welcome to Tales for Wales, the pod that never fails to drown you in Welsh history and to be a reservoir of knowledge for a dimly lit corner of history. I'm Jack, and as ever, I'm joined by the man whose heart was too big, the jester of Dinky Poo, the guzzler of Carlin, my good time boy, Sir Franco.
Well, I liked the second half. I didn't like the first half because you were making light of our topic of today's
I know.
episode.
I did sort of think, is that harsh? Quite harsh, maybe, but it's relevant at least.
And that's what they say is always okay, as long as it's
Yeah,
relevant.
as long as you're really harsh and really relevant at the same time, it's fine.
I'm not bad, mate. Sorry, I can't quite hear you over all that coin we've been making on Patreon.
Oh yeah, sauce lad. Yeah, I'm sat over here like fucking Scrooge McDuck, swimming in my fucking vault.
I'm surprised I could even afford to hear you.
Yeah, nice
so
one. Hey, who needs to be funny when you're this rich, mate? Eh?
Should we we'll open the gate for this great joke we got going on here. We won't gatekeep any longer. So as you all know, if you've been listening the last couple of weeks, we've kind of teased in the most haphazard, awful way possible that we have a Patreon, and it's so classic us where we release things in the wrong order. We like the timelines were all off. We didn't really know what we were saying.
Yeah.
Just general shithousery from us. But we mentioned we were going to launch a Patreon. If you listen to last week's episode, you'll know that we launched it. But we've already had some who I don't know. So I don't quite know how they found us because we didn't even say what the.
No, well, we when we set up the Patreon, right, there's like a few steps to it, and when the last step is like share it, like actually start telling
public.
people about it, and we haven't done we well up until this point now, we've done it by the time you'll hear this, but where we are in the timeline now, we haven't actually done it, so we don't know how.
It's just like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's so fucking confusing.
Yeah.
I know most people call it the MCU, but I don't remember. I wasn't too confident to say that, so it's like, oh.
But the basic point we're trying to make is we don't know how our current subscribers have found us, because apart from our little shitty plugins that we've been doing on the episodes, we haven't given out like our name for it yet or anything.
Yeah.
I think the episode
or just saying it was live.
Yeah. So I mean, fair play to you. And we were just sniffing us out, but
we were so excited as well, though, because it was because we haven't promoted it actually. Yeah, so by the time that we promoted it on the episode that came out on the 11th of Feb, so we thought after that we'd see people start signing up to it. But seeing people sign up to it now, this is the 6th of Feb, so like 5 days before we were actually going to launch it, we've got people signed up, and they've said we should really go through the tiers. So we got. Did you have it to hand? We could maybe read out what the tiers are.
I've got it up here, mate. Give me 2 seconds. Our memberships, right? So you got, obviously there's the free membership. That's just following us. That's just what anyone up until this point has been doing till now anyway. Then there's our first paid membership is just the support in the pod membership. That's £1 a month, £1 a month. That's just to help us out with like little fees and, getting it on RSS and like Riverside, what we used to record it and stuff. The next one up is.
So what are they called? They got fun. Have they got fun names?
Well, we couldn't be bothered to think up of a fun one for that, so it's literally called Support the Pod. That might have changed by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
We were pretty drunk when we set this up.
That's why
it was like after 3 recording. It was after recording number 3. Went, let's just do it now. Let's just do it.
It's why it's all new to me, because I imagine I was helpful in making some of these up. I don't remember any of the titles.
So our next one then up, we did give a funny name to. This one's called Jibber Jabber. After that first bad review we had. That's £5 a month.
It's not been over a year.
Yeah, still holding on to that one. That's £5 a month. With that one, you get 2 bonus episodes a month, fresh from the lips of your beautiful hosts. You get a few little knickknacks here and there as well. Like again, this has not been ironed out very well.
It'd be like little behind the scenes stuff on it, and
behind the scenes thingies, little posts from us, and it might. Believe me, it'll be better than what I've just fucking marketed it as anyway. And then the top tier for the absolute upper echelons of our listeners, that's the Taily tier, which, as all our avid listeners will surely know, was like the honour guard of the Welsh royalty, very aptly named.
And what Vin Diesel's such a big fan of, family.
Yeah. Exactly. So big fans of Welsh history or Vin Diesel, we got you covered on this.
Because Taylor means family in Welsh. I kind
Oh
of
yeah,
forgot
we
to
should probably
explain
explain that. Yeah.
that. Why can't we explain this? Every time we
We're
do it,
so
it's
bad at
so
self
cack-handed.
promotion. Yeah, we're
Oh,
terrible at this. So with this one, you do get a few extra bits. You obviously get the 2 bonus episodes a month, like you do in the last tier. After a month of paying that, you get personalized episode art from us. Well, I'll get some details for you and stuff. Be immortalized in the Tales for Wales episode stuff. After 3 months, we wanted to do a thing where you tell us about like your hometown or your sort of home area, and we'll do like a Tales for Wales episode, but catered to wherever you're from. So just watch us like butcher the history and sort of get things half truths about where you come from. And then after 6 months, we thought of the idea of we could turn you into like a Mabinogion legend. So we like rewrite your history, add you into the pantheon, the Welsh pantheon,
you give us
and
some
give your own
details.
little story and stuff. Yeah, give us a little
Yeah,
bit of detail, and we'll like sort of
we'll do the
craft a little
rest.
story for you and everything.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
then
that's where we're at the
every
moment.
3 months we'll think of something else. I mean, we've already thought of something else to keep that to you, but we'll keep thinking of new suggestions for how to
Yeah,
reward
every
the
3 months from
Taily.
that, we'll think of
Yeah.
something until we fucking die. It'll be yeah.
Yeah.
So every 3 months you get something.
Yeah, in like a year's time. Okay, this month you get to punch me, right? One square
Yeah,
punch in the jaw.
yeah, yeah. Do you want a dick pic? Do you want that?
Yeah.
Will that make you happy?
And
If you're paying that much?
so we won't read out the people who've submitted just yet. What we're going to do is compile a few and give shout outs weekly and stuff like that. But for those who have signed up already, so kind to you. You're mad. You're
Oh yeah,
absolutely you're too generous. But yeah, very very grateful.
yeah. Mad in the best
Croissant
kind of
Taily.
way.
Thank you.
You've made
Welcome to
these
the
two
fam.
two lads very very happy
I was
today because
mad,
when
wasn't it?
it's mad that I missed the fucking email. Like that's a big moment for us. I missed the email. I only noticed it fucking today. And I was like, oh, scan through the old Tales for Wales emails. And I was like, oh my God, it's happened.
It's happened.
We made
We're
it.
we're professional podcasters now because we
Professional,
get
baby.
let's jack it on. Let's quit our jobs and ride the Patreon wave for about
I've
a
already
week.
said to the wife, I was like, I'm tendering my resignation tomorrow. I'm putting in my 2 weeks.
Yeah, so yeah, that was we're trying to plug it up early. It's going to be a lot of fun, and in the Patreon you have like a comment section, so we can start like throwing chat into people,
Yeah.
and thinking of maybe starting a Discord, which I don't really know what that is, but it's like a big
Yeah, it
WhatsApp.
just
I don't know. I
basically
don't know.
Patreon gives us a little bit more leeway to have a bit more interaction
Interaction.
with you guys, whereas it's a
Yeah,
bit sort of scattered at the moment with we speak to you guys on Reddit sometimes or on like Insta. This is a bit more of a concentrated place where you can interact
yeah,
and
and
yeah, and
mold.
give us a bit more of a direct link. And yeah, we're obviously very keen to take on your advice on what we should do and stuff like that, and what
Absolutely.
you guys are after. Because at the moment, I don't know what the the people who sign up the first maybe 4 or 5 Patreon episodes, they're just an absolute wish wash of what we were like. Should we just do this? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the first ones are funny, but they are chaotic. I think we've done
Mm.
6 so far. One had to get turned into 2 episodes because of the length. But
Oh
they were
yeah.
really fun to do, and yeah. I don't know, they're cool. Should we say what the first episodes were? No, we won't.
Um,
We'll just leave it. We'll leave it.
no, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
want
enough
to turn
self
anyone off, do we,
promotion.
before they've signed up? That's yeah.
Right.
Imagine that sounds shit. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah, people pay for this. Should we read out some reviews? I know we got some.
I've got the one for this one, and we'll say we tend to do one an episode, don't we? This is a shorty, mind.
Yeah. All right.
So this is from Jake Abanos, right? And it's very short. He just said, "Just found your podcast, and I love it. Thanks, Jake Abanos. I'm a fanos of that comment."
You're an idiot. That's a nice. Yes, we'll save the others because I got a bunch on here saved. But
Mm,
yeah, we don't want to be too fucking up our own asses soon.
yeah, not just yet.
Not just yet. Yeah, give it another couple of weeks on the Patreon.
Yeah.
I'll hire someone to come do my bits on the pod.
Yeah, some little servant for us. Yeah, why not?
Right. So I don't know. We're 10 minutes in. Do we?
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if you missed as part of my intro, I called you the jester of Dinky Poo, and I'm
Yeah.
surprised you didn't react to me calling your hometown Dinky Poo instead of the famed Dinas
Dinas
Powys.
Powys.
Yeah. So people who are unaware, Dinas Powys, little place like, how would you describe it? Just outside Penarth, not too far
But
outside Cardiff.
so like we went to school in Barry,
Mm.
and I think that's because it's the closest school. The other schools are like I don't know. It's like it's a bit of a nowhere town, isn't it? But it's I don't know how
But it is sort of middle of, like, it's between Barry and like
Penarth
Cardiff,
and
Barry and Penarth,
Cardiff.
depending on which way
Yeah.
you're driving.
Yeah, depends on where you go. It's
Um,
like bang in the middle,
yeah,
equidistance of Cardiff and Barry.
good word that, equidistance, very nice. Um, but it's a nice little place. They got lovely, lovely couple of boozers in there.
Yeah,
We used to
yeah.
frequent those
The
back in school.
keys are
Mm.
the horseshoe, the keys,
Yeah, lovely little
what,
boozers.
star.
But there's people in. I don't know how far flung this like nickname for it came, but I was very aware at one point during our school time that people started calling Dinas Powys Dinky Poo.
I think like that's like so Dinas Powys. Dinas is like town, isn't it, or like
Mm.
city?
Yeah,
And Powys, obviously North Wales, or not
mm.
Mid Wales. Powys is, isn't it? Is
Yeah,
Dinas is city, isn't it, in Welsh?
yeah. Dinas is city. Yeah,
Yeah. So like it's like the city of Powys, but like it's not. It's like a village that was. There's like an old Iron Age fort here, like in the forest, in the thingy, which is like really really old, like 2,000, 3,000 years old or whatever.
mm.
And then there's a castle here. And then like there was barely anyone here for ages. Like it was a really really nothing town. And then when the miners when we started becoming more industrial, it grew like massively. But it's like, why am I telling you this? That's boring. What was my
No,
point?
no, I'm interested, mate.
It just
I was mainly going to go down the Dinky Poo
it was
route.
like,
I
oh
know it
yeah, sorry,
sounds funny,
that
but
was
but
that was
but
gonna
I'm also
say
equally. I'm not. What was the word you just said?
equidistant.
Equidistant. I don't know. It doesn't apply to this now. I'm equidistantly interested.
No, equidistance means halfway
I
between.
I know. Yeah, I assumed that, but I just
You're
wanted to use
half
it. It sounds like
interested.
equals. Equally,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
I'm
yeah.
half interested in what you're saying.
I'm equidistant from interested to don't give a shit. So you got me right.
Yeah.
But it's like a fun place. Like I grew up in Eastbrook, which was a bit of the rougher side of it, and then we moved in with my granddad in the nice side of it. So I've seen the whole plethora of
Both
Dinas
sides of the
Powys.
coin. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like it's like where you're from. There's not really much there, but I suppose there's a bit more than where you were from because I was close to Cardiff. I could just catch a 10-minute train to
Yeah.
Cardiff. But we used to have a lot of fun here, didn't we? The
Yeah,
pubs
I
would
used to
always
like
serve you
Old
when we were
Dennis.
like 16.
The did you ever actually meet anyone that called it Dinky Poo? Because I heard that it was called that.
No, it's like people
I
who
know
call
I'm
Cardiff the
fucking.
diff.
I know I've got the blinkers on by this Dinky Poo thing, but it was the same as like
No, yeah.
people used to call Penarth P Town. Apparently, I've never heard anyone say it in like actually in front of
No,
me, like
I've
in
heard
real
people
life.
say P Town who are a bit gangster. I've heard people like call it, like I loves the diff. That thing, like it's
Yeah,
like it's
yeah,
just
the
like no one
diff.
says that, and no one says I loves the diff. You like if you're from
Also,
Cardiff, you
the
don't call it the
diff
diff.
is the same amount of syllables as
It's
saying
Cardiff.
Cardiff as well. So it's not even
It's
helping you.
equidistant. Yeah,
It's equidistant, actually. Yeah.
I don't know anyone who calls it dinky poo. I just think it's so
No, or
twee and
P-Town.
fucking cunt-ish. I don't really like it.
Yeah.
But I think some people might do. I don't know. Yeah, why? Do you know where it's come from? Just
No,
'cause
I know.
no.
I was hoping you would be able to elaborate. I just remember hearing in school people. No one called it Dinky Poo to me, but I remember someone saying, "Did you hear that some people call Dinas Powys Dinky Poo?" It was almost like a
Rumour
rumor
going
of a
round.
rumor, like like no one's heard anything. Slow fucking news day in the sixth form common room that day.
I just googled dinky poo Dinas Powys, and then someone just says, apparently it's on a map.
Oh, is this where you find out there was like a Saint Dinky of poo or something like that, and he just named after him? It's really deep lore.
No, I have no idea, man. I don't. I like. I yeah. Maybe that's an episode we could do. We'll uncover the truth around dinky poo. I
It
always
doesn't
think it
sound like
sounds
there's
so
fucking anything to
twee.
it.
It just sounds so like I don't know, like just middle
Made
class
up,
and like.
like no one ever called it that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's dinky poo.
something like that.
Yeah. Well, that was a great chat. Shall
That
we,
was top level.
yeah.
back with a bang.
I don't know
Yeah,
if you agree, but the last few episodes have been like chaotic from us.
yeah,
We've
they
just
have.
been a bit,
I don't know why we haven't been very structured, have we? We've been a bit sort
no,
of. It's hard to keep us on the path.
yeah,
Keep straying off.
we have gone a bit doolally tap. But I think maybe because I'm a bit anxious about doing this episode because it's going to be like depressing and quite morbid and like. So I think I'm trying
You
to
know
like.
what? It's not as depressing as you'd think. I was going through it when I was doing my notes. It's more frustrating and like anger inducing, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
than
maybe that's what I meant because
depressing.
I think maybe not depressing because I think I get rattled and I get angry and
Yeah,
I like great injustices. They're exactly that. They're great injustices, and I like everyone. You feel them to your core, don't you? Especially when they're from
yeah.
places you're from,
You
and you
summed it
just
up
think like,
well there.
fucking, hell, you wish you were
It's
there to
such
do
a
something.
yeah. It's such a I don't know a failure of what you expect
Mm.
from just
Well,
society
should we
in
jump into it?
general. You know.
Should we
Yeah,
jump
go
into
on
it?
then. Yeah. So well, as ever, as we always say, you know what this is about. You've seen the fucking title card. Um,
Why do
but
we get angry at that? If we,
yeah, I resent the title card as if like spoiling it for me. Yeah. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, today we're going to be talking about something most people in Wales, I would assume, would already know about, or at least are aware of, and that is the drowning of Tryweryn, or Boddi Tryweryn in Welsh. This was the drowning of a Welsh community called Capel Celyn in North Wales in 1965. Um, and they drowned it so that Liverpool and the Wirral could be supplied with water for their industry at the time. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a Welsh person that hadn't at least seen the remembrance signs about Tryweryn because they're all over Wales, normally along kind of like main roads, sort of up and down the country. I will talk more about them a little bit later towards the end of the piece, about the like lasting impacts and like the
cool.
sort of cultural stuff that it's had an effect on. For now, I'll just go into sort of how it all came about and the kind of how it happened in the first place.
Yeah,
So the ball began moving on this in about 1957 when a bill presented by Liverpool City Council was brought to Parliament proposing a water reservoir be created in the Tryweryn Valley.
it can be quite a hard word to say, can't it? Trewelyn.
Yeah, two in one, especially Tryweryn and then Valley. It's just
Trewelyn Valley.
Tryweryn.
Hmm.
Um, the creation of this reservoir would require the flooding of Capel Celyn, the village I mentioned earlier, and which happened to be one of the last Welsh-speaking communities in that area. So it's like a double blow,
Was it
really.
was that the reason it was picked, or was that just coincidental?
Well, you could never pinpoint that,
Yeah,
but it was just the callousness of it. I think I'll
yeah,
go again. I'll get onto this in a little bit, but
yeah. I
the
mean, we've got
fact
to
that
say
it
this is probably
was.
the episode that is. We've done loads of episodes that have
Hmm.
horrible things happen in them, but I think this is when I've been most. I kind of the reason why we've not wanted to do it for so long because it just makes my blood boil,
It's very
and
emotive for
it's still quite
Wales, isn't it?
raw, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Um, but I think what it is, like you said, or did they target it because of that? I don't think it is. I genuinely think, in my opinion, that the fact that it was one of the last
Yeah,
Welsh-speaking communities in that area didn't even fucking cross their
yeah.
minds. I don't
They
think
didn't even
they're so
care.
just ambivalent to it.
Yeah.
Um, Anyway, so predicting some pushback and controversy following the announcement of this plan, Liverpool City Council sought to obtain permission through an Act of Parliament, meaning that the bill would not need planning consent from the relevant Welsh local authorities and would also skip any planning inquiry where the Welsh constituents would surely have an argument against it. So imagine, if you will, this is a different time in Wales to now where we didn't have nearly as much power in our government. And
Yeah, or
so
representation.
or representation. So, in essence, what I'm trying to say here, to try and clarify for people who aren't familiar with these terms, like Act of Parliament and stuff like that, if you're outside the UK or just not sort of that's have you with like
Politics or whatever.
parliamentary terms or
Yeah,
political terms. Um, this is essentially a fast track where an act of the Parliament would all just agree, yeah, no problem, use your thumbs up, you can crack on, and you don't have to go through all the red tape you'd normally have to go because if they did, they would quite obviously get a lot of pushback from the constituents in Wales.
yeah,
So when it came to passing this bill in Parliament, because it still needs to be passed in the UK Parliament, 35 out of the 36 Welsh members of Parliament at the time voted against it. The 36th MP didn't vote at all. I abstained. I do think that's a bit of a coward move, considering what was going on.
I don't think you should be allowed to abstain in politics. You've been voted to represent where you're
exactly,
from,
to make
and
a fucking
to have
decision.
the courage of conviction. You can't just go,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm not going to do anything." I think it's utterly bollocks.
Yeah, at least I don't, not do me wrong. I wouldn't be happy at all if he'd voted for it, but at least I could go, "Why did you do that?"
Well,
and you
it
could
is
give me an
voted for it.
explanation. Well,
It
yeah,
is
yeah,
voted
exactly.
for
In
it.
essence, it is that's yeah, exactly. It's a coward's way of voting for it. And unfortunately, even if that MP, the Welsh MP, the 36th one, did vote against it, it wouldn't have made a difference because at the time, English MPs massively outweighed the amount of Welsh, and the bill was passed because
And now we have
Eng-
even less. The way they've redrawn the constitutional voting, Wales lost 8 MPs. I think we've gone down from 40 MPs to 32 due to like representational voting. So
so we're even worse off these days than we were back in the fucking 60s. Oh, sorry, that was back in the 50s. Pardon my lapse there. But from there, once this bill had been passed, there was an 8-year struggle between the UK government and various Welsh communities and organisations, including the Capel Celyn Defence Committee, which was established very shortly after that vote had passed, as you can imagine, as well as 125 local authorities in Wales. So the Capel Celyn Defence Committee, 125 local authorities in Wales. They tried all sorts of avenues to have this bill struck down. Sadly, they were unsuccessful. So on the bill's second reading then, again, I'm going to try and clarify this as best I can. So these Acts of Parliament, you don't just get a one and done vote. You get one reading, people vote for it, and then you can that's the chance where you can have amendments put in and changes. If anyone's sort of half paying attention to British politics at the moment, like the Rwanda bill, for example, has gone through this similar sort of process. But on the second reading of this bill, 27 Welsh MPs voted against it once again. The rest, they abstained, which again is like, I can sort of understand from one perspective, right? This is, it's a done thing. We're not going to stop it, but have the fucking courage of convictions and just say vote against it. And but just for context here, as I mentioned before, this was back when Wales didn't have, we didn't even have an office of government yet. It was well before we got any devolved powers. So basically back then I'm simplifying things here, but what Westminster said went, essentially.
And so for like American listeners, Wales now in 1999 voted for devolution. So we have our own parliament called the Senedd, which is in English the Welsh Parliament, and we have MSs, the members of the Senedd, and they represent us on a national level. And then we have members of Parliament who represent us on they still call it like it's on the UK wide level. So one for Wales itself, and then one for the UK government.
That's right, yeah. To give you an idea of what we didn't have at this point, we didn't even get a Welsh Secretary of State.
I was just going to say as well, and then before we had that, we had the Secretary of State for Wales, so Secretary of Wales, that they were like usually an MP.
We had a lot less powers and sort of any say on what we did and what happened in Wales. So there were also many attempts to sabotage the work being done to create this reservoir. After it got all the approval it needed from government, the work started. Welsh weren't happy, as you can imagine. Lots of works of sabotage and protests and things like that were going on to try and delay or outright stop the work to make this reservoir. 2 men, David Pritchard and David Walter, they damaged some machines on the site in September 1962. They were arrested and fined 50 quid, but that in today's money is about £900. So like a huge chunk back then. 3 men, Emyr Llewellyn Jones, Owain Williams and John Albert Jones, were also jailed for 1 year after causing an explosion which caused damage to the building of the reservoir in 1963. So this was met with vehement sort of opposition in Wales. But despite everything being thrown at it, the valley itself was flooded in 1965 along with the village, Capcallan, and all of its buildings, including a post office, a school, a chapel, a cemetery, 12 houses and farms, and all in all, around 800 acres of land, with about 70 people losing their homes. This made way for what is now known as Llyn Celyn, which is the reservoir, or Celyn Lake in English, if you like. Stones from the original chapel at Capel Celyn, which was built in 1820. This is another thing that boggles my mind. Like 1820, there's such an old building, there's so much history, and you just fucking
Yeah.
drown in it. But the stones that were used to build the chapel, as well as some stones from other buildings in the town, they were removed before the flood, and they were used to construct the Capel Celyn Memorial Chapel, which now sits overlooking the reservoir as a Grade 2 listed building. I went there last year, actually. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's a stunning view there. It's right on the edge of the reservoir, overlooking it. You see the mountains and everything. It's beautiful. It's just such a shame that such a beautiful site
I
cost
know
an entire fucking town.
a lot of people go there and piss in the water.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get to this in a bit, but I wonder where the water goes today, if it still goes to Liverpool, but that might come up.
Oh, just you
Yeah,
wait,
because I
my
think I
friend.
know
Just you
something
wait.
about it.
Mm. So, families who had relatives buried at the cemetery in Capel Celyn, they were given the opportunity to have them moved before the flood, but only 8 bodies ended up being dug up, the others being left there.
Yeah, you're
The
not meant to
government,
dig up a grave, are you? It's
well, that's the thing, yeah. The government at the time, though, they promised at the time, they said what will happen is we'll remove all the remaining headstones before the flood, and we'll cover the cemetery in layers of gravel and concrete, so it proper seals off the graves, so there's no chance of like a fucking body or casket
yeah.
coming loose or whatever like that, and you'll have the gravestones removed. You can move them wherever you want, keep them whatever. Surprise, surprise, none of this was done.
Oh,
You can
bastards.
even Google, if you Google Tryweryn graves,
Hmm.
it'll come up with very eerie looking pictures. Actually, some divers took of the underwater gravestones a few years back. It's just they've just left them as is, sort of thing. It looks creepy as hell. Actually, if you would, I
Oh, yeah,
imagine
I've
if you
just
didn't know
Googled
the
it.
history, it's creepy, man. Isn't
Yeah.
it? I remember looking at it and thinking that's something out of a horror film.
Well, it looks like in Elden Ring, this little computer game that
Yeah,
has
it
that
doesn't
kind
look
of
real.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after all the heartbreak and devastation that the drowning of Tryweryn Valley caused, it was later discovered that Liverpool City were not even using the water the Llyn Celyn Reservoir was supplying. Instead, the water was being sold to other countries to make profit.
Oh,
I don't think I have to tell you that Wales didn't see a fucking beam
no.
of that money either. So yeah, I mean, I tried to look at a few more sources about this because that's quite the claim.
Oh,
I found plenty of places that said that was the case. I
yeah.
couldn't find if they never ever used like a drop of that water, or and it was all sold off, or they used it a bit and then they found that it was way more than they needed and then sold it. But either
Yeah.
way, they don't come out very good if you try and look it up.
Yeah. No, I haven't. Yeah, I will do. But talk about what we did look up. I did Google who the 36 MP was who abstained the first time round, and
All
it
right.
was the shock horror Conservative MP, but for Cardiff
Mm,
North, so the poshest part of Wales, or one of the
yeah.
poshest parts of Wales. Shock
Yeah,
horror.
shock horror. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know how we didn't guess that. To be honest, I bet that would have been a real safe
yeah,
bet. Um, so this whole debacle, as you can imagine, had a massive political effect in Wales and England. Um, for example, Plaid Cymru, which for those who don't know is the Welsh Nationalist Party, um, that saw a big uptick in votes for them at the next general election, um, because they staunchly opposed the UK
yeah.
government on the flooding of Capel Celyn.
I mean, you might get this, but
But
it was a real turning point in Welsh nationalism.
oh yeah, yeah. It just went to show essentially that they really didn't give a fuck across the border. Well, I say across the border, I mean in Parliament in Westminster, they really, it was one of our cities needs water, so we'll just drown one of your towns. What does it matter? But most significantly, the flooding of Tryweryn was a major catalyst for bringing the subject of not only Welsh nationalism but Welsh devolution to the forefront, with the incident being cited a number of times in the discussions from all the way from the 60s through to the formation of the Welsh Assembly in 1998, 1999. In 2015, Tryweryn would come up in political conversations again in relation to the proposed St. David's Day Agreement. So this, now listen to this, this is proper like sticking the boot in. So this agreement proposed by Parliament was basically to give Wales more devolved powers, which is a good thing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it did also come with a real dog shit section on water in Wales, which basically stated that any decision made by the Welsh government regarding water could be overruled by UK ministers if they judged it necessary to safeguard England's water supply.
They do that for a load of things here. Like,
Yeah.
during the pandemic and stuff,
Mm.
healthcare has devolved here. And there was talks of overruling, same in Scotland, the Westminster would overrule it if it wasn't really what they wanted. And it's always, until you have proper independence for things like this, you won't ever really have autonomy over what you want to do. So I read this thing like a while back saying that Wales exports roughly 214 billion litres of water each year. And if Wales charged the market price of 0.03 litres, the yearly value is worth 6.4 billion GBP, which is like, considering Wales' current population is 3.1 million, it'd be £2,000 per person per year. But we don't get any of that money.
Me and my father-in-law just get a couple of cans in us. It's only a matter of time before we go, water's the Welsh oil. That's what I'm saying. Water's the Welsh oil.
It's and I think me and you, we've put our colours to the mast a long time ago. I think we're both, even if we don't know exactly what a Welsh independence or something that would look like, there's things that would have to be better than the setup there is now. Like,
I'd rather live by the sword and die by the sword, than have someone
Well, they
else
just
make
had
the
that
decisions.
commission, didn't they? They just did that commission, independent commission by the government to see what the future Wales could be if it had more autonomy, so further devolution, if it lost devolution and just got incorporated into England, and if it went independent. And for the first time ever written down, like a government-sponsored investigation, it said that Wales would be sustainable as an independent nation. It said it would struggle. It said there would be financial hardships maybe to begin with, but having full autonomy over its natural resources. We give like £500 million a year to the Crown Estate just for our beaches and wind turbines and shit like that.
Yeah.
If we keep our water and our wind and our natural stuff.
I mean, you get rid of the raw deals that we have in numerous sectors. It might be a pipe dream, but it's a dream.
Yeah, and if not, we'll put a pipe bomb up their ass.
We're threatening terrorism. We're doing
it. That was a very clever joke because I think there's some like really, really nationalist. Like when you say nationalist in other countries, you think they're going to like.
It's got bad connotations, isn't it? Nationalism.
But some nationalists in Wales try to blow up the bomb. I think called the Mab of May. I can't remember the name, and I don't want to get it wrong in case they bomb me. But they try to blow up water supplies going into England with pipe bombs. So it was actually quite a funny joke I just said.
Yeah. Very well. Very good. Very good. Right, and back to our little sad story.
I know, man. It's conflicting.
It is infuriating, though.
I hope this is educational to like Americans who might not have heard it before, because I know we have a great, really, really, strong American contingent, and I think this might be a story that might not have crossed over. And I hope most people in Wales have heard it, and if they haven't, this is a good chance to.
Well, even learn about it. Personally, I can say there's a couple of, because me and you were there when we had this conversation. We got a couple of, we got plenty of English mates, and not even they know about this.
No. I know loads.
I can sort of understand why English.
Yeah, I understand it
because why would they? It shows them as bastards. Like,
yeah. But also, like, it's we don't know the plight of places in India that have suffered from colonial rule. Exactly. You don't always know that stuff, but you would expect people in India to know what happened, as you would in Wales. You'd expect people in Wales, and that's more of it's a failing of education here that we don't know enough of our own history. God, this is an intense episode.
I know. If
it's a failing of the state.
Yeah. You've already called for a terrorist attack. So, and what are we? We're at the 39-minute mark. So yeah,
Yeah, and I've only had
lovely
two
to know.
Carlins. Out of respect to this
I know.
episode, I've not. I've,
God, imagine what you'd be saying if you were on the rums.
yeah, I know. Well, I'm saving that for the next episode because we're doing a Viking episode next, and that's going to
That's
be
true.
fantastic.
Oh yeah. Right, I'll try and get through the rest of this now.
Sorry.
You'll be glad to know there's not too much left to it. So where was I? So I was saying about this. Yeah, there's this St David's Day agreement. Like I said, it did promise to give a few more devolved powers to Wales, but at the cost of losing a bit of our autonomy in terms of like water and how that's used. So, as you imagine, this poked a lot of old scars still very present in Wales,
Yeah.
and was met with heavy criticism, eventually leading to a change in the agreement 2 years later, in 2017, meaning that the UK government would lose this power to overrule us. The change was regarded as, quote, preventing another Tryweryn. So just, this thing happened in the ball began rolling on Tryweryn in the 50s, happened in the 60s, and even 2017, it's being sort of harkened back to as still relevant, because it had such a lasting effect on Welsh culture. So,
That St David's Day agreement was one of the things they gave Welsh government in that was setting its own speed limits and regulating taxis and buses and ports for for like travel. So that's why the speed limit in Wales can be different to that in England because of this agreement.
yeah. You had to bring up the bloody speed limits, didn't you? And this is, as if this isn't controversial enough.
True. I'm sorry. I'm
All the
sorry.
20 is plenty heads. Don't start fucking downvoting us now. Right. Where was it? So yeah. So as I said, it had a massive effect on Wales culturally, and just to give you a little taste of how Tryweryn is remembered in Wales, it's been memorialised in lots of different mediums. To be honest, there was a theatre production based on it called Porth y Byddar, or Drowned Out for the English version. Many songs have been made commemorating the flooding, including Ready for Drowning by the Manic Street Preachers, which you could probably have predicted would happen, as they could make a song out of that because
Yeah.
they're a Welsh band.
Very,
Did you
very
know also that,
socialist driven as band. They're like hugely
yeah,
political.
did you also know that Enya made a song about it called
No
Dana
way.
Dŵr?
No way.
Yeah, even with a Welsh name, Dana Dŵr.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
so those are the two biggest ones. There's tons of songs we made out of
Yeah.
it, but those are the two you're only going to really know, I think. The British Argentine drama film Patagonia is partly filmed at Capel Celyn. Sorry, well, not Capel Celyn, the
Yeah, the memorial.
Llyn Celyn, the reservoir. There's an episode of the animation series Archer, as in the Archer,
Oh, yeah. The
the
cartoon thing.
American,
Yeah.
the American comedy thing, and it's called Acheb y Morfilod, or Save the Whales in English, which is and it guest stars
And it
Welsh
means,
actor Matthew Rhys.
and Morfilod as in Wales the animal.
Yeah, So Save the Whales. Yeah, Morfilod is Wales the animal, not Wales the country.
That's a funny episode.
I'm
What's that
assuming that
about
was a
then?
fun. Yeah, apparently right. It's meant to be the creators of that series of Archer. They met Matthew Rhys,
Yeah.
and he told them about Tryweryn, and they were like, "Let's
Ah.
do an episode sort of
I
tangentially
just
related to
yeah,
that."
it's about two Welshmen getting chased by the MI5. So it must be those two Welsh blokes who try to either break the
Blow
stuff
up
or do the
the
bombing.
Yeah, it must be something. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I
Yeah,
thought that's a mad like modern reference that I didn't know
yeah.
existed.
We get
Um,
about, don't we, mate? We get about.
we do fucking get all sorts, mate. Uh, it's also referenced in season 3 of The Crown on Netflix when Prince Charles studies in Aberystwyth Uni to learn Welsh. I would highly recommend that episode as well, even if you don't watch The Crown. I never watched The Crown either, but I watched that one episode because it had to do with Wales because I'm
Was it
biased.
good?
It actually is really good. It does a good job of kind of showing what I thought the ambivalence the Welsh are often met with
Yeah.
by the government / the monarchy. And yeah, it was good. It's very good. I thought it was well done. And there's lots of Welsh actors in it, and there's lots of speaking Welsh in it. So I thought I very much rated it. There's also been a few books and a lot of art made in relation to it, but probably what most Welsh people have seen that links to Tryweryn are the numerous signs up and down Wales that I mentioned earlier, and they're the Cofiwch Tryweryn or Remember Tryweryn signs. These signs are a reminder to not forget the destruction of a Welsh community. A notable example is the one on the wall of a ruined stone cottage along the A487. It's a fairly big road in Wales, for those who don't know. That's at Llanthystud,
It's so
if I
funny
pronounced
that
that right.
Wales is like one of the few places you can say the A road is one of the big roads.
One of the main
The
roads, I know,
A487
yeah.
and the A470 are like our two
Well,
big
we got
roads.
we got the MVP, we got the old M4, don't we? That
Well, the
does
M4
a
stops at
decent,
the M4 stops at
yeah.
Carmarthen. The
It's not even that
A470,
far up, yeah,
no, A470 goes from south to
yeah.
north, and it's the only one that goes from south to north. And the A4,
The A470 is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
the A487, A487, beautiful road by the way.
beautiful roads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
a
is. It's on
lot
the
of beautiful
coast.
roads in Wales. Actually, a
Well,
lot of
it's
beautiful
very
roads.
pretty because you drive along the coast and you go up. It's like it's all along the western coast to North Wales, and
Mm.
it's like probably the up there top 5 drives in the UK. Beautiful.
There's an episode fucking for the future. There, top 5 drives of Wales.
Sign up to the
Um,
Patreon.
yeah, but so yeah, this the sort of one of the most well known signs of this, the Cofiwch Tryweryn sign, is just outside Llanthystud, which itself is just outside Aberystwyth. So that's why it's along the coast as you mentioned.
And
It's actually
Aberystwyth quite a
considered that
hotbed
one.
for Welsh politics,
Oh yeah,
and
and
yeah.
that one I've just mentioned is actually considered a national landmark. So there's
Well,
others all the way up and down the
someone,
country.
a few of them have been defaced a few times, and they're
Yes,
always
yeah,
fixed within a
unfortunately,
day. And that
yeah.
one there, someone took a sledgehammer to it, and they
Mm.
rebuilt it, and it just shows the aggression against it, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. But
It's
you'll see them all up and down Wales, like in different. You'll be driving along a road, and it could be as simple as just a dilapidated bit of a wall, and
yeah,
they're usually the textbook is it's sprayed
red background.
red background with white Cofiwch Tryweryn on it.
Yeah, it'll be
Um,
the art for this. We'll produce the art for this.
oh yeah, I've already got it. I already got it
Yeah,
set up, mate. Don't you worry.
yeah,
In 2010, a fundraising campaign was launched to preserve the wall I was just on about that in
yeah.
Llanrystud. 80,000 was needed with and Cadw, who are, how to explain this, they're like the
Heritage,
organization in Wales.
the
They're like a
Welsh
heritage
heritage.
organization. Yeah,
Yeah.
they safeguard like all the castles, they safeguard like anything that's considered like a heritage site.
Yeah. They're
And they
great.
contributed
They're really
30.
good on social media. If you follow them on like
Yeah.
Instagram, you have some great
Oh
ideas of
yeah.
where to go
If you
in
want to see
Wales.
some of our like
And
amazing castles and like sort of
Cadw is
landmarks,
spelled
amazing.
CADW.
Yeah, CADW. They contributed 30,000 to this fund as well. So like a big chunk of the money that they needed because they really felt that this was a historic site. Like I said, the sign is usually white text on red painted background. They pop up all over the place. Some also have since been added to. So some of them, most of them are Cofiwch Tryweryn, but some of them have Cofiwch Tryweryn a Cofiwch Aberfan, which is Aberfan is the mining disaster that happened in Wales. I won't go into that. This is a sort of depressing enough one. We might do an episode on that probably another time, but it is a really sad one. So I don't know. We'll see how we feel.
Yeah.
In 2005, then the city of Liverpool, they issued a formal apology with Councillor Mike Story. He was a Liberal Democrat leader on the council at the time. He said, "Apologising is the first step towards reconciliation. I hope people don't see it as gesturing because it's not. It's a recognition that mistakes were made."
That's the
While
thing as
some...
well. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go on.
No,
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 you
no.
go on. Go on.
I was just going to say, Liverpudlians are a nationality to themselves. They I think we've said this before, but they don't consider, a lot of them don't consider themselves English. They consider themselves Scouse. So they'll often
Yeah.
boo the national anthem of England. They'll often boo "God Save the Queen" or "God Save the King." They always say "Scouse, not English" or "Scouse, not British."
Yeah.
They're like,
Definitely.
and they're very similar to Wales in having like a quite strong identity. So having the Scousers do it to Wales was a real. That's what hurts even more. Is someone who you'd expect to know better.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? So after this comment from the council leader of Liverpool, some people in Wales, like sort of high-profile people in Wales, like the Welsh First Minister at the time, Rhodri Morgan, and Plaid Cymru, Elfyn Llwyd, they accepted the apology. Others, like Betty Watkin Hughes, whose family was forcibly removed from Capel Celyn when all this happened. She said, "I think nothing of it. It is just a way to say goodbye and sweep it all under the carpet. They can keep their apology and start doing what's right for the people who are left." So, while some people sort of look at it as a way to
Start
yeah
again.
start reconciliation, other people are not very happy and don't think it can be apologized for. I think it's too little, too late. A lot of sentiment from people who are affected by it, or families are affected by it, or even politicians, like modern day politicians. They they were saying that apology from someone now doesn't mean anything, because that councillor, for example, that Mike Story, who was City of Liverpool council leader in 2005, he had nothing to do with what
Yeah.
happened in the 60s. The people who were responsible for anything, they're still getting off scot-free. They haven't issued any sort of apology.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, I can see how for some it rings a bit hollow. I can
Yeah.
understand that.
But I also think, like, we should apologize for crimes that, like, the UK has done to other countries.
Oh yeah.
And even though that's not us, it's still our responsibility. And I think doing so at least raises acknowledgement to people who might not have known about it
Yeah,
now know because he's
I can
apologized.
see both sides.
Yeah.
I think it's,
I think
I
I
totally
lean more
understand.
to reconciliation. I think if someone, maybe it is just words, but we're not going to get any money for it. No one's going to
Yeah, and also there's no point point holding a grudge forever.
no.
Like,
Well, if it was a
that's
case of
just gonna
saying,
be
you
sour,
know,
isn't it?
you could get compensation or something like that, then it's slightly
Mm,
different. But they were offered compensation, and it wasn't a huge amount. But there wasn't anything they could actually gain other than uh, someone else apologizing. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
It's not
But
me
yeah,
that's affected. So
that's my full that's my story on
well, I reckon we
Tryweryn,
don't.
the
Yeah,
flooded town.
we don't try and plug anything here. I think out of respect to Dryden, we just say thanks for listening. And we hope if you hadn't heard this story before, you tell it to someone else and get them to listen to this episode. And
Yeah,
then
I think
you
even
know,
though this is a bit more, it's a little bit more low
somber.
energy, if you like, somber, yeah, than we normally do. I think it is important to know, and it is
Yeah,
such a big deal in Wales. And yeah, if you just tell another person, that, then we've done our sort of our
yeah,
job, which we are
that's
getting
our
paid
bit
for
for it.
now. So
Yeah, yeah, we are actually professional, actually. All right, well,
yeah,
Dilth and Grandar, and we'll catch you
cheers,
soon.
all.
Ciao.
Ta-ra, ta-ra, ta-ra.